We're just over 6 weeks away from the South Carolina primary, the fourth nominating contest of the 2020 election cycle. The latest poll conducted by Fox News last week shows former Vice President Joe Biden at 36% in South Carolina. That's more than twice the support of any other candidate. In a surprise second at 15% is billionaire activist and donor Tom Steyer, who is visiting South Carolina this weekend. Closely behind Steyer is Senator Bernie Sanders at 14%. In Columbia today, Biden's sister Valerie campaigned as a surrogate. She was joined by former U.S. Olympic figure skater Michelle Kwan, who has also endorsed Biden. They met with a group of black women activists known as the Reckoning Crew, who backed Biden after Kamala Harris dropped out of the race. J.R. Berry joins me now with more on the state of the race in South Carolina. He is an anchor at our Columbia affiliate, WLTX. J.R., thanks very much for being with us.
Elaine, thank you for having me.
So I want to start with a pair of op-eds published in the newspaper The State this week. First, Nina Turner, a top surrogate for Bernie Sanders, wrote that Joe Biden has, quote, repeatedly betrayed black voters, end quote. In response, Bernice Scott, a South Carolina Biden backer, called Turner's claims flat wrong. Why is this particular issue important in South Carolina?
You know, there hasn't been a lot of discussion about these articles that you've been talking about, so I don't know if they've really been resonating with a lot of Democratic voters in South Carolina. Some people would see Nina's op-ed as for Bernie, against Biden, and of course Bernice Scott, who's been a known voice here in the Midlands of South Carolina for more than 30 years now, is a Biden backer, a name brand in the Midlands of South Carolina. So there hasn't been a lot of blowback when it comes to these competing op-eds in the local paper. So not a lot of people are really talking about them, except maybe some people from behind the scenes.
Well, Biden has led South Carolina polls the entire season so far, often with a 20-plus point lead. What would it take for another candidate to catch him?
I'm not sure. You know, CBS is going to have that February 25th debate down in Charleston. And some voters, some Democratic voters in South Carolina are locked up right now. They're not going to change their vote no matter what. But I suppose there is a number of Democratic voters out there waiting to see the candidates on stage in Charleston on your network coming up at the end of February, just a few days before the first in the South Democratic primary. So unless Biden really messes up, unless there's some big mistakes on his behalf, I don't know if he's going to be caught in South Carolina. At least that's the way the polls look right now, and that's what we're hearing from a lot of Democratic strategists behind the scenes here in South Carolina.
Well, as we mentioned, Tom Steyer received the second most support in the most recent South Carolina poll. He was at 4% in that same poll in October. Do we know what's driving his increased support?
Tom Steyer has spent a lot of money on television ads here in South Carolina. Before he announced for the presidency, he was spending a lot of money on impeach Trump ads on every television station in the area. And since he's entered the race, those ads have multiplied. He is running ads almost every time there's a commercial break on local television stations. So you take that, and then you take perhaps some of the issues with Biden that have developed nationwide over the last couple of months, and you might have a reason there for why perhaps Steyer's numbers are going up. He has made a couple of appearances here in South Carolina, so people have been able to put a face with the name. They've been able to see him one-on-one. He's going to be back in South Carolina this weekend as well, so there's a chance for him to connect with even more voters. But that is a tough task right now. He is about 20 points behind Biden right now, and barring a miracle of some sort, a lot of the political experts around here don't think that Biden is going to be caught by Tom Steyer or any other Democratic candidate.
So South Carolina's primary will be on a Saturday. How does a weekend date impact who's able to make it to the polls?
That is good for the South Carolina Democratic Party. Their voter turnout traditionally on Saturdays has been phenomenal. You know, a lot of people are off of work, obviously, on Saturdays. A lot of people have family time, too, on the weekends. But it has worked out well for the Democratic Party in the past. They're expecting a pretty good turnout at February 29th for that Democratic presidential primary. They're not expecting any issues as far as people staying away.
All right, J.R. Berry. J.R., thanks very much for joining us.
Elaine, thank you very much.